Just the beginning, just the
Yep.
icing for sure.
Okay, so here with Donna Tyson.
Yes.
Donna Tyson, in addition to all the things that Donna Tyson is, you know, alumni at Nebraska, great softball player, very accomplished softball player at Nebraska, a very accomplished coach, a member of one of the most influential families in travel softball. Also, she is our coach here at EM,
Yes.
which is we're honored to be able to have that happen. And she has literally taken on the entire softball, the head of softball here at EM.
Yes.
So thought it was important to be able to talk a little bit about hitting today.
Yes.
And some of the analytics that we use, that you use specifically,
Yeah.
and kind of what they mean, because sometimes as a parent, we hear numbers like exit velocity, rotational, whatever,
Yeah.
On plane, off plane, all those things, and depending on our knowledge, those numbers mean one thing, but really, in the big picture,
For sure.
they mean something more to you. They mean something more to coaches that we're trying to get our girls recruited to.
Mhm.
And so we wanted to kind of cover a little bit about that.
Well, I graduated in 2012. I'm like, when it was my recruiting time, it was all like, we didn't have blasts, we didn't have any numbers. So it was kind of the naked eye could tell you a lot. But with that was like, you had to project with the naked eye how people would do at the next level. So I think there wasn't always a correlation of people improving or showing up in college. So I think as times changed, more technology came about because you're able to have, it was a closer prediction of how they would perform in college, because like coaches say, or we say in even analytics here, it's like numbers don't lie. I'm like, that's, I think, put a lot of truth into softball, because I think with the naked eye it sometimes can lie to us. But with numbers, it's really how is your body working, or if with anything, there's Rapsodo for pitchers. I'm like, it can really give the information that our kids need to get better.
Right. From a coach's perspective, too,
Yeah.
because it's challenging for coaches to even recruit now with COVID,
Yes.
cut budgets, less travel dollars.
And I did honestly I saw the shift when COVID happened, because with everything going on, like parents were barely allowed to into games and to go to travel ball games. So to shore everything up, I think even video technology, just seeing it live, but you also got to see people's numbers when you weren't even present at like a field or facility. So that is the nice thing. It cuts budgets for colleges because they don't have to fly out to come see people anymore.
Exactly that. Like in baseball, of course I'm familiar with both now because
Yes.
both my kids play both sports, but I remember back at a high school game, a scout had come over and he walked up and I was behind the backstop and he's like, "Do you know who this guy is?" And I know his first name was Luke, I forget his last name. I go, "He's a pitcher, yeah. As a matter of fact, he's warming up the pitch right now." He goes, "Okay, good, I'm in the right place." And so he watched the guy pitch and he was obviously disappointed,
Yeah.
right? And so I saw him afterwards and I said, "So how did it go?" He goes, "Well, not as well as I thought it was going to go."
Yeah.
I go, "So what was the deal?" I go, "That's not my kid, so no trouble." He said, "Coach called me, told me he throws 90,
Yeah.
right? He was 82 to 83 all day." And it didn't look to me like the potential to be able to throw that just because of his mechanics,
Yeah.
whatever. So that's a wasted trip,
Yeah.
for a guy coming all the way from whatever college
It's a
that
lot
was.
of money, yeah.
Yeah, but now it's down to almost a science when it comes
It
to
is.
the
It
numbers.
really
right?
is. Like people, if they'll see your numbers and that will be the door in, like that's actually your walk in the door. And certain numbers mean certain things. So there's certain things that might be small fixes. There might be things big fixes. So big fixes, you're probably not gonna have a scout because these kids are young. Like to make them all, like especially younger kids, all try to be in greens. That's a tough feat. But if you have a red in a tough area, it's like, okay, like projection, is it going to spend more time when they come in to try to change that? Or is that something that's easy and it's a quick fix? I'm like, so they can decide things a little quicker now.
Right.
It's pretty nice, I think, because baseball has been ahead of us with numbers and matrix. Softball just started really focusing on it.
Yeah. Old school baseball guys are either getting with the program or
Yeah.
getting out because they're frustrated with the numbers.
For sure.
You said green and red and yellow. I mean, what is that measurement?
So the greens are like today, like our yesterday with our team, we were checking greens. Greens is like, it's a 80 scale. So if you're high in playing scores, if you're well, you get a green rotation. If you use your hips well, that's going to be a green. And then connection, if you connect up, if your connection within your swing's good, it's a green. So now people are getting judged where the areas where you're yellow and red. So a girl with a lot of yellow and reds, that might be, hey, that scout that you're talking about, because that might be a lot of improvement they'd have to fix. So it's really kind of baseline recruiting, because if they don't have all greens in an area, it's like, okay, let's not. I'm like, that's how they're making these decisions. So
And you're talking specifically about blast.
for blast, yes,
Blast,
the green.
that's
So
sensor.
yes, the sensor.
Which is that?
Absolutely. So that's able to connect. Yep, and it'll go right to my screen. Like, I have a girl up right now. She has great rotational. I mean, she has great bat speed, but she's in 7.2 in rotation. They want 20s. So I'm like, it's being able to have the girls see that, though. This is a young girl. I'm like, being able to see that, hey, you don't incorporate your hip a lot. They're going to want to see that. Like, at Florida, maybe one girl has a yellow, but everybody else they recruit, but they're a great organization. Every girl's in the greens.
So when you talk to Florida, when you talk to Tim Walton,
Yes.
does he, I know he'll probably appreciate some of those numbers. Does he actually disqualify some girls that don't have those numbers?
I'm like, it depends. Like a girl that can't get on plane, I'm like, SEC, like he has bat speed. So if girls aren't in the 60, it's like 70 plus in the SEC with speed. So if a girl's in the 40s and bat speed, it's gonna be tough for her to go to the next level and hit against a girl pitching 70.
Right.
So yeah, I'm like, bat speed's one, but all coaches are different. One coach may look at rotation. Maybe they're really a backside like hitting coach. If you're low in that, that might be a disqualification. I think it varies within what teams you're on.
So when you're out there just on any day, the day that you're doing hitting, batting cages or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you have your big wide screen up there, and the girls take a hack,
Yeah.
and then the information, boom, it goes to the wide screen. They have immediate feedback,
Yeah.
and then you're looking at it, and so it just gives them an opportunity to find out kind of what they need to work on.
Yeah.
And do you like separate them based on what they need to work on?
So like yesterday, like a girl, like the machine can lie because our machine's not really correlating with what our pitcher's doing.
Right.
So it's not spinning. So yesterday a girl had a great hit off the machine, but it said she was really extremely low in her hip movement. So I'm like, you're able to immediately turn around. I'm like, hey, this next swing, I know that felt good, but adding more hip will feel better. She doubled her score. And that's kind of how we're kind of doing training here. We're putting people where their yellows and reds are. So I'm not going to have a girl with great bat speed not go do in low connection score. I'm not going to make her do crazy bat speed drills. I'm going to make her work on her connections.
Exactly.
So it's sad for them, this age group, because the numbers are about it, but it's also good too because they're able to train. So like this girl yesterday was very discouraged because she was like, I get it, coach, because in practice I can feel really good, but in the games it doesn't correlate. I'm like, yes, that's what the blaster's up, is that we don't judge off of our eyes. We can actually judge what our body's actually doing.
Yeah, and with your experience, you would probably, even if the blast wasn't on, you'd probably say, "Yeah, let's use our bottom half a little bit more."
Yes.
But you'll say that and probably get verification on the screen,
Boom.
and then they can see. So this is like three-way verification.
It's like yesterday, I can see with the naked eye this girl when she turns her hip consistently, and then she was with the younger group. You were able to see it on the screen. She's in the double digits while everybody's in single digits. I said before we even did the blast, I'm like, she will probably be better at rotational acceleration than a lot of you guys. And boom, it's the proof in the pudding. You can see it on the screen.
Right.
So it's pretty nice.
It's this is great that we can talk like this, because sometimes we'll send a email to the parents saying,
Yeah.
hey, make sure you have your blast.
Yeah.
You know, and you probably say, hey, make sure your blast is charged up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that because we're hitting tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, without this kind of information, as a parent, you're like, you know, oh, okay, you forgot your blast. Okay, no big deal or whatever. But actually,
It's
kind
a
of
big deal. It's a big
you're
part
doing
of our
targeted
training.
type of practice.
Boom.
basically.
Yes. So it's a big deal. They have it. I'm like, if you don't have it, like college coaches are saying, it's like hitting blindly. We're literally hitting blindly. If you can't see what your body is physically doing, yes, it may be discouraging to your kids, but this is what the future is going to be about. So yeah, it's absolutely critical to have the blast, because then we can literally, because you also want to see growth. So like right now I have everybody on one. You can have your own blast and see how you've developed over time. Like it's going to register everybody like what your swing actually is, but it won't save to what that person is. So it would be nice if everybody had it, because we can just connect their names in our system and literally boom, it's up there. Kayla up there. You can see where her numbers are at.
Right. Kayla's you hook to her sensor on your phone and on the screen.
Yes.
And every swing that Kayla takes, boom, analytics pop up.
And it's tough right now because everybody's like, buy this, buy that. If you are going to invest, I'm like, buy the blast. I'm like, the Rapsodo is a fortune, but we have that here.
Right.
We can work on that here. But if it was an individual thing, I'd make sure everybody got that blast.
So the blast is basically everything that happens to the ball.
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
then hit tracks, which you also use, is everything once you hit the ball.
For sure. So you'll get exit velo. I'm like, you'll see how long it stays on the ball. But blast is like talking, okay, connection. Did your elbow and hip get connected? It's talking everything before this phase. And I think that phase is where a lot of people lose their mechanics. So trying to strengthen everything before contact, because surely everything after usually shows up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, again, as a parent, sometimes you get confused about, my coach at my travel ball team says that I need to step this way, move this way, swing this way, do whatever. But the way this is shaping up, it's like, regardless of all that, step this way, move that way, swing that way, there's certain absolutes that have to be right for you to be successful, right?
Absolutely.
And so those are basically the numbers that you're working with, is the absolutes.
Yes, and if you read it, my dad is very keen on this, because my dad's not a tech guy either, but he had to learn like connection scores. One girl yesterday, she says her coach makes her put her hands high like this. But a big part of connection is actually being in position to have your elbow. So from the start, she's done, because she can never get her elbow connected. And Blast explains what each means, like connections, your elbow and hip getting connected. If her hands are super high, it's going to be tough to ever connect her upper and lower body. But if a coach tells her to do that, I'm just the middleman. I have to be like, hey, keep your hands there. But I know an easy fix, bring the hands down and you're connected. But it will always be between that. So
Right.
I can give suggestions, but the numbers don't lie. That girl lacks in connection scores. I'm like, I can read you exactly how you connect, how you're on plane, and everybody, like hip movement was a big thing this summer. A girl was on our organization, it was the difference maker. She had to keep going to camps until she committed, because they wanted to see if she made leeway in hip movement. All hip movement is rotational acceleration.
Right.
So until her rotational acceleration numbers went up, they weren't going to offer her money. That's how critical this is.
Right.
So.
And from a strength and conditioning perspective, we can work hard on their rotational acceleration,
Yeah.
hip movements, all the things that we do out there to make them more powerful, more explosive. But they can be a really powerful, explosive athlete with, no connection.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? And so it's important to be able to get both, which is why, this program, doing all this, having our experts there in the strength and conditioning floor, having our experts in softball, and putting it all together.
It kind of works because, like, Coach Amy, she's one of the strength and conditioning. We talk, like, she'll sit in Like right now, she set in for us writing people's blast numbers. I'm like, she can see where people lack and then incorporate it into what's going on, like medicine balls, feeling your elbow and hip get connected. So it kind of builds on each other because you can build on it in the strength and conditioning. We did that at Nebraska. Our strength and conditioning coach worked with our hitting coach because we had to get things activated within our swing.
Awesome. So that sounds like a great thing.
Yes.
What was I going to say about what about the rotation acceleration, which I thought was so important. The numbers, and as a parent, again, having that uncomfortable conversation with their hitting coach that they go back to, right? Again, I know we talk a lot about it, that we're not trying to step on anybody's toes. We're not trying to replace anybody. You know, if you're comfortable where you are, that's what we want. We want you to be comfortable. But again, there's certain absolutes, right, in that swing to the ball, and then you have the information on all that. Right, and so that information is not. I mean, Blast didn't just come up with numbers.
No.
Right, they studied zillions
They've
of
collected
baseball,
data
softball, and
from,
did that, right. And so a lot of the college coaches, I mean, really rely on the tools like HITTIHG, Rapsodo, and Blast. But I think it was maybe Heather Tarr at Washington. She really digs into the numbers, doesn't she?
Yeah, she'll look for like their playing score or their what is that? The launch angle or the like what angle they took into it. Like she wants an 8 or a 7, but other schools might want one thing. That's why I'm like having them be coachable enough, because I may say a number, but I'm going to only give them the information where the bulk of the coaches are saying. Like, a bulk of the coaches want, like, they want your exit velo between 10 and 20. So if you're in the 60s swinging up, that's going to be a cut. But there might be one person in the cards that, hey, we want 50 launch angle. But it's being able, I'm going to prepare for what the best wants you at. And that's where they want you at. These are the numbers we should focus on. But all people definitely ask for different type of numbers sometimes. Right. But I'm going to give the majority, like what Florida, what UCLA, like we had a lot of girls go to Oregon camps. We had a lot of girls that were in the reds and yellows. So they wanted us to be able to send them people green, at least in the 3, the plane, connection, and rotational acceleration. The main 3, but that's kind of.
Melissa is talking Blast to you. She's saying, "Send me your greens."
Yes.
Which is like,
so it's like Martyr. Martyr's the hitting coach there now, Sam Martyr. So she's able to say, "Hey, like your girls, like there's a bunch of yellows here." You know, that's how people are starting to communicate now. It's completely taken over. I know Michigan State. Everybody, at least in the Pac-12. I'm like, if you haven't evolved in that, it's tough. And I know as parents, you're like, oh gosh, I don't want my kids to see the truth. But the earlier they see the truth, the better the fix. It is going to be sad and emotional, but you're able to get to the parts you actually need to work on.
So you're saying like sad and emotional, as in if they look up on the screen and they see a number that's like not like up to par.
Yeah.
So they are gonna see the truth. Every swing that happens right away, and sometimes it's shocking.
Yeah.
Maybe they think, like you said, you're hitting balls at the back of the cage.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you're looking at some numbers that of some areas that they still need to improve on.
The girl I'm talking about, she probably hits it to the back of the cage every time, but in the games they said she has no hip movement. I'm like, that's the nice thing. Or yesterday we did groups. I did it like a camp setting. This is how camps are run. I had the TV up. I put you in your age group, and then you're able to see it. Like Kayla Guzman, she's in like 17. They want it out at like 20. She's at 17 on rotational acceleration. Then you have people in the group that's like 2s and 3s, but you've seen it can be done. That's the cool thing about numbers. You've seen it can be done, so there's like no excuse you can make, but dang, I'm in the 3s and that girl's in the 17s. Right. So it's like skipped all guesswork. Here's the truth. So with truth comes sadness, but it also comes work.
The truth hurts.
Yeah.
But you can't improve unless you're okay with failing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So This can go on all day.
Yes.
So we're gonna, I think, keep it to, so we can have like volume 2 of
Yes.
talking about all this stuff. But, and maybe talking about Rapsodo and hit tracks and giving some examples on those too, that you're using those for your kids.
Yes.
But thank you for sitting down and, you know, getting this on record, because I think as a parent, especially for our program, it seems as though they don't get a lot of information back from, you know, how was your day to their kids, and good, what'd you do, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, or we hit today.
Yeah.
But the depth of what's going on within just we hit today, you know, by doing analytics and teaching swings and making sure, you know, that's the thing that doesn't get back to the parents. So
we hit with a purpose today. Yeah.
Like even the targeted practice, like you're not just telling them to go back into a cage and just go get a tee and just hit a bunch of balls. You are working on what they need work on, particularly. Like,
and it is tough. I'm like, some of the girls, they like to feel good off the tee, and like, no, but in the games, you just told me you were in a slump the whole PGF. I'm like, obviously something's not working. So it is nice that this year we have really went to technology, because she learned too. I'm like, I was kind of like, numbers. I'm an old school gal for sure, but after seeing the summer and coaches asking for people's baseline of numbers, I'm like, you kind of have to like catch on board or you get left behind.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the wave of the future.
It is.
Get on or...
It is. It's going to now start to be when you walk, before you walk in the door, what's your blast numbers? Okay, you can come in. It's going to kind of be like that.
I personally know some people in baseball that quit because they just didn't want to get with that new thing, or just... it was so formidable. Yeah. Right? Or they weren't technology friendly. And they just didn't want to spend the time to like start again.
Yeah. Like my dad would nag on stuff, like, and be rah, 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 and people would think he's just like, oh gosh, he's in my head. No, he was actually speaking. He could see. My dad has a great eye. Yeah. He can see what the blast would be telling these people. So back in the day, that's like, oh, you're making my kid overthink. But it's only more so I can increase her numbers. Now people want to learn, because you can literally see it on the screen. Your daughter does not use your backside. But I remember being younger, my dad would be like, but your daughter's not using your backside. A girl would be like, well, I hit it hard, but this says otherwise. You got more to give in it.
Verification.
Boom. Yeah. Yes.
And it gives verification to the girl. Oh, I'm listening to Dawna, or I'm listening to Marty. They really want me to use my backside more. They really want me. Yeah. This is all of a sudden, okay, you were at 14, now you're at 15, now you're at 16, now I'm really starting to use my...
And when they buy in, and then on the next swing, you literally see the ball hit off their bat, that's what you're like, you can say that's the difference. And it's nice when it happens, yes.
Wow.
But if you never know, you never actually know how that feels if you don't really focus on it.
Right. Using technology for good instead of evil.
Yes.
Okay, we better stop.
Yes, okay. We do.
All right, so we'll get back with volume 2 soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I stepped on your foot.
It's okay. Worst things have happened to me.
Yeah, that one was good, for sure.